The galaxy was a vast and dangerous place, ruled by powers far beyond what most people on Earth could imagine. For centuries, humanity had looked up at the stars with wonder, dreaming of exploration and discovery. But those dreams were overshadowed by fear of what might be out there. The Varnock Empire, a ruthless alien civilization that spanned countless star systems, had made sure of that. Their massive fleets patrolled the galaxy, crushing any species that dared to resist their will. Fear kept the peace, or so they claimed. On Earth, life went on as usual. People worked, played, laughed, and lived without worrying too much about what lay beyond the sky. Governments kept quiet about the occasional strange signals picked up by satellites or the mysterious lights seen. Streaking across the night, most humans had no idea how close they were to being dragged into a conflict that dwarfed anything in their history, and maybe that was for the best. Ignorance can sometimes feel like safety, but not everyone was ignorant. Deep beneath the surface of the Pacific Ocean, hidden away from prying eyes, was a secret facility called Sanctuary Base. It wasn't on any map. Only a handful of people even knew it existed. Inside this underwater fortress, a team of scientists, engineers, and military personnel worked tirelessly on something extraordinary, a project decades in the making. This project had a name, Project Eclipse, and at its heart was an ancient marvel of technology known simply as the Aegis Dawn. The Aegis Dawn wasn't just a ship. It was a supercarrier, a floating fortress capable of carrying dozens of smaller spacecraft, armed with weapons more advanced than anything currently in use by Earth's militaries, and equipped with stealth technology that could make it invisible to even the most sophisticated sensors. But here's the strangest part. It wasn't built by humans. At least not entirely. Long before World War II. Pieces of the Aegis Dawn had been discovered buried deep underground in Antarctica. No one knew who had built it or why it had been left there. Some believed it was evidence of an ancient alien visitation. Others thought it might have been created by a forgotten human civilization, far older than recorded history suggested. The truth, the discovery, changed everything. Scientists spent years studying the fragments, learning how to repair and replicate the alien tech. By the time the war broke out, enough progress had been made to assemble the ship, but secrecy became paramount. If word got out about such a powerful weapon, every nation on Earth would want it. So, the decision was made to hide it. For decades, the Aegis Dawn sat dormant, waiting for the day when it might be needed. That day finally came. Captain Ryan Mitchell stood on the bridge of the Aegis Dawn, staring at the rows of blinking lights and holographic displays that lined the walls. He was a tall man with sharp features and piercing blue eyes. His dark hair was cropped short, and his uniform was immaculate. Ryan had dedicated his entire career to this moment, though he never imagined it would arrive so suddenly or under such dire circumstances. "Status report," he said. Turning to face his crew, Lieutenant Emma Carter, the communications officer, glanced up from her station. She was in her late 20s, with curly brown hair tied back into a neat ponytail. Her fingers danced over the controls as she spoke. "All systems are online, sir. Shields are holding steady at 98%. Weapons are primed and ready. Cloaking device is functional." Ryan nodded, satisfied but still uneasy. Emma, Chief Engineer Daniel Brooks, leaned against a console, arms crossed. Daniel was a burly man in his 40s with a thick beard and a no-nonsense attitude. "She's running smoother than I ever thought possible," he said gruffly. "Let's hope we don't have to push her too hard right off the bat." Ryan turned to Samantha Hayes, the tactical officer. Sam was calm and calculating, her green eyes scanning the screens in front of her. "Any updates on the Varnock fleet?" he asked. Sam shook her head. "Nothing new yet, sir. Just the same intel we've been getting for the past 24 hours. They're moving fast, though. If they keep their current trajectory, they'll reach Earth within 72 hours. 72 hours. 3 days. That was all the time they had to prepare for what might very well be the end of human civilization as they knew it. Ryan clenched his jaw, forcing himself to stay focused. Panic wouldn't help anyone. What about our intercept range? Asked. We can meet them near Jupiter, Sam replied. It gives us enough distance to maneuver if things go south, but also puts us close enough to strike hard if necessary. Ryan considered this for a moment. Good. Make sure Athena has all the data we've gathered on their ships. I want her running simulations non-stop until we launch. Athena, the ship's artificial intelligence, was arguably the Aegis Dawn's greatest asset. Unlike typical AI systems, Athena wasn't just programmed to follow orders. She could think, adapt, and learn in real time. Her voice came through the speakers now, soft and reassuring. Simulations are already underway, Captain. Current projections indicate a 63% success rate if we engage near Jupiter. 63%, Ryan muttered under his breath. Not great odds, but better than nothing. Still, numbers weren't enough. They needed more than calculations and probabilities. They needed courage, determination, hope. As the crew continued their preparations, Emma couldn't shake the feeling of dread that weighed heavily on her chest. She'd joined the military because she wanted to serve her country, to protect the people she loved. But this was different. This wasn't about defending Earth from another nation or ideology. This was about survival, pure and simple. And the stakes were unimaginably high. Her thoughts were interrupted by a sudden alert flashing on her screen. Frowning, she leaned closer to examine the signal. It was faint, almost drowned out by static, but unmistakable.
Happened she?
Said urgently, I'm picking up something unusual. Ryan stepped over to her station, his brow furrowed. What is it? It's coming from the outer edge of the solar system, Emma explained. Some kind of transmission. Doesn't match any known human frequencies. Could it be the Varnak? I don't think so, Emma replied. There comes usually half a distinct pattern. This feels different. Almost like a distress call. Ryan exchanged a glance with Sam, who shrugged. We could be a trap, Sam said cautiously. Or it could be legitimate. Either way, we need to investigate. Ryan nodded. Send a probe to the source. Let's see what we're dealing with. Emma complied, inputting the coordinates and launching one of the ship's unmanned drones. As the probe sped away, disappearing into the void, she couldn't help but wonder what they might find. Was it a lost colony ship? A stranded explorer? Or something else entirely? Hours passed as the crew waited anxiously for the results. Finally, the probe transmitted its findings back to the Aegis Dawn. What they saw left them speechless. It wasn't a ship. It wasn't even a structure. It was a message, a series of symbols etched into the surface of a distant asteroid. Symbols glowed faintly, pulsating with an eerie light. Emma stared at the image, her heart pounding. What does it mean? She whispered. No one answered. Because no one knew, whatever it was, it added another layer of mystery to an already overwhelming situation. Ryan sighed, rubbing his temples. We'll deal with that later, he said firmly. Right now, our priority is the Varnak. Everyone, focus on the mission. The crew nodded, returning to their tasks. But as Ryan walked back to the center of the bridge, he couldn't shake the nagging feeling that they were walking into something far bigger and far stranger than they could possibly comprehend. The countdown continued. 72 hours until the Varnak arrived. 72 hours until humanity's fate was decided. And somewhere out there, among the stars, something or someone was watching, waiting. The crew of the Aegis Dawn worked tirelessly as the hours ticked away. Every second felt heavier than the last, each moment bringing them closer to the inevitable confrontation with the Varnak Empire. The ship hummed with activity. It's advanced. Systems running, diagnostics, recalibrating weapons, and ensuring that every piece of equipment was ready for the fight ahead. Despite the tension in the air, there was a strange sense of purpose among the team. For the first time in their lives, they were part of something bigger, not just soldiers or engineers, but defenders of humanity itself. Captain Ryan Mitchell stood near the center of the bridge, his sharp eyes scanning the screens and displays around him. He was calm on the outside, but inside, his mind raced. 72 hours. That's how long they had until the Varnak fleet reached Earth. 3 days to prepare for what could very well be the end of everything. It wasn't much time, but it was all they had. Lieutenant Emma Carter sat at her station, her fingers flying over the controls as she monitored incoming signals. She had been trying to decode the mysterious transmission from the asteroid ever since the probe sent back its data. The glowing symbols were unlike anything she'd ever seen alien, but not like the Varnok's harsh, angular patterns. These symbols were softer, more fluid, almost inviting. But inviting to what? She couldn't shake the feeling that they were meant to communicate something important, something urgent. Yet no matter how hard she tried, the meaning eluded her. "Anything yet?" Ryan asked, stepping up behind her. Emma shook her head, frustration evident in her voice. "Not yet, sir. Whatever this is, it's not using any language or code. Recognize it's like it's designed to be understood, but we're missing something." Ryan frowned. "Keep at it. If it's a message, we need to know what it says before we move forward." "Yes, sir," Emma replied, though her tone betrayed her doubts. She didn't want to admit it, but she was beginning to think the symbols might not even be meant for humans. What if they were meant for the Varnok? Or worse, what if they were some kind of trap? Nearby, Chief Engineer Daniel Brooks was overseeing the final checks on the ship's engines. A burly man with a thick beard and calloused hands, Daniel was the kind of person who preferred action to words. He trusted machines more than people, and right now, his focus was entirely on making sure the Aegis Dawn was in peak condition. "Are we looking, Chief?" Ryan asked, walking over to where Daniel was crouched beside an open panel. Daniel glanced up, wiping grease from his hands. "Engines are good, Captain. Athena's keeping everything running smooth. But I'll tell you this, if we push her too hard, we might start seeing cracks. This ship wasn't exactly built for prolonged combat." "I understand," Ryan said. "But we may not have a choice." Daniel nodded grimly. "Just saying, sir. We've got one shot at this. Let's make it count." As Ryan moved away, Tactical Officer Samantha Hayes approached him. Sam was calm and collected, her green eyes steady as she held out a tablet displaying the latest intel on the Varnak fleet. "Sir, I've updated the simulations based on their current trajectory. They're moving faster than expected. If we wait until they reach Jupiter, we might lose the advantage." Ryan studied the data, his jaw tightening. "What's your recommendation?" "Intercept them sooner," Sam said without hesitation. "Somewhere between Saturn and Jupiter. It gives us enough room to maneuver and forces them to split their forces if they want to pursue us." Ryan considered this for a moment. It was risky engaging. The Varnok, farther out, meant less time to prepare, fewer chances to refine their strategy. But waiting too long could mean losing the element of surprise. And surprise was one of the few advantages they had. "All right," he said finally. "Set the course for the outer rings of Saturn. We'll engage them there." Sam nodded and relayed the order to the navigation team. As the ship adjusted its heading, Ryan turned his attention back to the bridge. The crew was focused, working together seamlessly, despite the mounting pressure. They were ready, or as ready as they could be. Hours later, the Aegis Dawn emerged from the shadow of Saturn's rings, its cloaking device rendering it invisible to enemy sensors. The massive gas giant loomed in the distance, its swirling clouds and icy rings casting an eerie glow across the void. Through the viewport, the crew could see the faint glimmer of stars beyond. Pinpricks of light scattered across the infinite darkness, and then they saw it, the Varnok fleet, even from this distance. The sheer size of the alien armada was staggering. Dozens of ships stretched across the horizon, their sleek, metallic hulls glinting ominously in the dim light. At the center of the formation was the flagship, a monolithic vessel bristling with weapons, turrets, and shield generators. It was a sight that would have struck fear into the hearts of most humans. But Ryan forced himself to remain composed. "They're holding position," Sam reported, her voice steady. "No sign of movement yet." "Good," Ryan said. "Keep it that way, Athena. Can you mask our heat signature?" "Affirmative, Captain," the AI replied. "Cloaking protocols are active. Our presence remains undetected." Ryan allowed himself a small sigh of relief. So far, so good. But he knew it wouldn't last. The Varnak weren't fools. Eventually they'd realize something was wrong. When they did, the Aegis Dawn would need to act quickly. Meanwhile, Emma continued to work on decoding the mysterious symbols. She'd set up a secondary console near her station, running algorithms and cross-referencing databases in an effort to crack the code. Her frustration grew with each passing minute, but she refused to give up. There was something about those symbols that felt familiar, like a memory she couldn't quite place. "Come on," she muttered under her breath, her fingers flying over the keyboard. "Talk to me." Suddenly, the screen flickered. A series of numbers appeared, followed by a single word: Unity. Emma froze, staring at the display. Unity? What did that mean? Was it a warning? Plea? Or something else entirely? Before she could process the revelation, alarms blared across the bridge. Crew snapped to attention as red lights flashed overhead. "Incoming transmission," Sam shouted. "They've detected us." Ryan's heart sank. Their cover was blown. Raise shields. Prepare for evasive maneuvers. On the main view screen, the image of a Varnak commander appeared. His features were insectoid, with compound eyes and mandibles that clicked as he spoke. His voice was deep and guttural, distorted by the translation software. "Primitive humans," he sneered. "Your resistance is futile. Surrender now, and perhaps we will show mercy." Ryan stepped forward, his expression hardening. "This is Captain Ryan Mitchell of the United Earth Fleet. You are trespassing in our solar system. Leave now or face the consequences." The Varnak commander laughed, a chilling sound that echoed through the speakers. "You dare challenge the might of the Varnak Empire? Very well. Your destruction will serve as an example to others." The transmission cut off, and the Varnak fleet began advancing. The battle was about to begin. "Everyone to your stations?" Ryan barked. "Emma, keep working on that message. Sam, target their lead ships. Daniel, keep those engines running hot. We're going to need every bit of speed we can get." The crew sprang into action, their movements precise and coordinated. As the Varnak ships closed in, the Aegis Dawn activated its weapons systems. Plasma cannons hummed to life, their barrels glowing with energy. Missiles armed themselves, ready to launch at a moment's notice. "Target locked," Sam announced. "Fire at will," Ryan ordered. With a deafening roar, the Aegis Dawn unleashed its payload. Bolts of plasma streaked through space, slamming into the nearest Varnak vessels. Shields flared and cracked under the assault, and several smaller ships exploded in bursts of flame and debris. The humans had struck first, struck hard. But the Varnak were quick to retaliate. Their flagship unleashed a barrage of laser fire, forcing the Aegis Dawn to dive into the safety of Saturn's rings. Chunks of ice and rock shattered around them as the ship weaved through the chaotic field. Narrowly avoiding destruction, shields down to 60%. Sam called out. "Can't take much more of this." "Hold steady," Ryan said, gripping the railing as the ship rocked violently. "We just need to buy ourselves some time." Emma, meanwhile, had returned to the mysterious message. The word unity still lingered in her mind, nagging at her thoughts. Could it be a clue? A key to unlocking something greater? She didn't know, but she couldn't ignore it. "Not now, Athena," she said urgently. "Run a frequency analysis on the symbols. See if they match any known communication protocols." "Processing," the AI replied. Moments later, a new set of data appeared on the screen. Emma's eyes widened as she realized what she was looking at. "Their coordinates," she whispered. "These symbols aren't just a message, they're pointing to a location." Ryan turned to her, his brow furrowed. "Where?" Emma hesitated, her voice trembling. It's inside the Varnak flagship." For a moment, the bridge fell silent. Implications were staggering. If the symbols truly led to something aboard the enemy's command vessel, it could change everything. But getting there would mean infiltrating the heart of the Varnak fleet, a suicide mission. Ryan clenched his fists, weighing the options. They were outgunned and outnumbered. But if there was even a chance that the coordinates held the key to turning the tide, they had to take it. "Prepare a boarding party," he said finally. The Aegis Dawn darted through Saturn's rings, its sleek form weaving between massive chunks of ice and rock. The Varnock fleet pursued relentlessly, their ships firing beams of energy that shattered nearby debris into glittering clouds. Blasts sent shockwaves rippling through the void, shaking the human vessel as it narrowly avoided destruction. Inside the ship, the crew worked with frantic precision, their faces pale but determined. Captain Ryan Mitchell gripped the railing near the center of the bridge, his knuckles white as he watched the chaos unfold on the main view screen. "How long until we're clear of the rings?" he demanded, his voice steady despite the tension in the air. 30 seconds, sir," replied Lieutenant Emma Carter from her station. Her fingers flew over the controls, monitoring the ship's position and trajectory. "But they're closing. Fast. If we don't break free soon, they'll have us boxed in." Ryan nodded grimly. He turned to Tactical Officer Samantha Hayes, who was coordinating the defensive maneuvers. "Sam, keep targeting their smaller ships. Need to thin out their numbers before they can surround us." "Yes, sir," Sam answered without hesitation. She tapped commands into her console, guiding the plasma cannons to lock on to 2 approaching Varnock fighters. With a flash of light, the weapons fired, obliterating the enemy vessels in an instant. For every ship destroyed, 2 more seemed to take its place. Chief Engineer Daniel Brooks stood nearby, his eyes glued to a diagnostic panel. "Shields are holding at 45%, he reported. "Can't keep this up forever. Their firepower is too strong." "We'll manage," Ryan said firmly. "Just hold together a little longer." Emma glanced up from her screen, her face pale. "Sir, I've double-checked the coordinates from the message. They definitely lead inside the Varnock flagship. Whatever's there, it's important, maybe even critical to stopping them." Ryan exhaled slowly, his mind racing. The idea of sending a boarding party into the heart of the enemy fleet was insane. But so was everything else about this mission. "All right," he said after a moment. "We stick to the plan. Once we're clear of the rings, we'll make a run for their flagship. Use the cloaking device to get close. Then the boarding team moves in." "And what about us?" Daniel asked gruffly. "You planning to leave the rest of us here to fend off the entire fleet?" "No," Ryan replied. "We'll provide cover. Fire while the team infiltrates. Athena will handle evasive maneuvers. As soon as they're aboard, we regroup and prepare for extraction." Daniel muttered something under his breath but didn't argue further. Everyone knew the risks. But there was no turning back now. As the Aegis Dawn emerged from Saturn's rings, the full might of the Varnock Armada came into view. The alien ships formed a sprawling formation, their metallic hulls gleaming ominously. In the dim light, at the center loomed the flagship, a colossal vessel, bristling with weapons, turrets, and shield generators. It was larger than anything humanity had ever encountered, a floating fortress designed to crush resistance wherever it went. "Athena, activate the cloaking device," Ryan ordered. "Take us in." The AI's calm voice responded immediately. Cloaking protocols engaged. Enemy sensors show no sign of detection. With its invisibility field active, the Aegis Dawn slipped silently toward the flagship. The crew held their breath as they passed within range of the Varnock's outer defenses. Any wrong move could expose them, and once spotted, it wouldn't stand a chance. On the bridge, Emma continued analyzing the mysterious message. She had isolated the frequency used to transmit the symbols and was attempting to replicate it. "If we can broadcast the same signal," she explained to Ryan, "it might open some kind of access point aboard the flagship." "Good work," Ryan said. "Keep at it. We'll need all the help we can get." Meanwhile, the boarding team prepared for their dangerous mission. Led by Samantha Hayes, the group consisted of 4 other crew members: Private Alex Rivera, a skilled marksman; Corporal Lisa Nguyen, an expert in explosives; Ensign Jake Miller, a tech specialist capable of hacking alien systems; and Lieutenant Connor Blake, a seasoned combat veteran. Member carried specialized gear tailored for close-quarters combat. In zero gravity. "Remember," Sam told the team as they suited up, "speed is our best weapon. Get in, find whatever's waiting for us, and get out. No heroics." The others nodded, though the weight of the task ahead hung heavily on their shoulders. None of them spoke as they made their way to the hangar bay, where a small shuttle awaited. The vehicle was equipped with stealth technology similar to the Aegis Dawn, ensuring it would remain undetected during the approach. Back on the bridge, Ryan watched as the shuttle detached from the mothership and drifted toward the flagship. Athena maintained distance, he instructed. Stay ready to provide support if needed. Understood, Captain, the AI replied. I am monitoring the situation closely. Inside the shuttle, Sam led the team with quiet authority. The craft moved silently through space, drawing closer to the massive alien vessel. Through the viewport, they could see the flagship's surface smooth and metallic, dotted with glowing panels and protruding weapon arrays. It looked impenetrable. Approaching docking bay, Jake announced, checking the readings on his tablet. There's an external hatch on the lower hull. Looks like maintenance access. That'll do. Sam said, prepare for Eva. The team donned their helmets and sealed their suits, then exited the shuttle via the airlock. Using magnetic boots, they clung to the flagship's hull as they made their way to the designated entry point. The silence of space was eerie, broken, only by the faint hiss of their oxygen tanks. Once they reached the hatch, Jake set to work bypassing the locking mechanism. His hands moved quickly, interfacing his handheld device with the alien controls. After several tense moments, the hatch slid open with a soft hiss. Clear, Jake whispered, stepping aside to let the others enter first. Inside, the corridors were dimly lit, the walls lined with strange symbols and pulsating conduits. The air smelled metallic, and the hum of machinery echoed through the passageways. The team moved cautiously, weapons drawn, scanning for any sign of movement. This place feels wrong, Lisa murmured, her voice barely audible over the coms. Stay focused, Sam reminded her. We're here for one thing only. Using the map generated by the decoded message, Jake guided the team deeper into the ship. Along the way, they encountered automated defense drones, which Alex dispatched with precise shots from his rifle. The skirmishes were brief but intense, leaving everyone on edge. Finally, they arrived at their destination, a large chamber filled with glowing crystals suspended in midair. In the center of the room stood a pedestal, atop which rested a sphere of shimmering light. The object pulsed rhythmically, as if alive. What is that thing? Connor asked, staring at it warily. I don't know, Sam admitted. But it has to be important. Grab it, and let's go. Jake approached the pedestal carefully, examining the sphere. As he reached out to touch it, the crystals around them flared brightly, bathing the room in blinding light. For a moment, time seemed to stop. Then, a voice spoke not aloud, but directly in their minds. It was calm and resonant, speaking in perfect English. You seek unity, the voice said. To unite is to survive. To divide is to perish. Anyone could react. The sphere floated upward, merging with Jake's device. A surge of data flooded the screen, overwhelming him. Images, maps, and schematics flashed before his eyes, detailing the inner workings of the Varnak fleet and their command structure. It's a map of their entire operation, Jake stammered, and vulnerabilities. Weak points in their shields, blind spots in their sensors. Sam grabbed his arm. Let's move now. The team retraced their steps, moving faster this time. Alarms began blaring throughout the flagship, alerting the Varnak to their presence. Reinforcements poured into the corridors, forcing the humans to fight their way back to the shuttle outside. The Aegis Dawn engaged the enemy fleet, drawing fire to give the boarding team a chance to escape. Explosions rocked the void as plasma bolts and laser beams crisscrossed the battlefield. Despite the chaos, Ryan's voice remained calm as he issued orders. Hangar bay is secure, Athena reported. Boarding team is returning. Us out of here, Ryan commanded. Maximum thrust. The shuttle docked safely, and the boarding team scrambled aboard just as the Aegis Dawn accelerated away from the flagship. Behind them, the Varnak fleet gave chase, their weapons blazing. On the bridge, Emma studied the data retrieved from the sphere. Her expression shifted from confusion to awe as she realized its significance. Captain, she said urgently. This changes everything. We can use this to disable their entire fleet if we act fast. Ryan nodded, his resolve hardening. Then let's not waste any time. As the Aegis Dawn sped toward safety, the crew prepared for their next move. The battle wasn't over yet, but for the first time, hope flickered in their hearts. They had found a weakness in the Varnock Empire, and they intended to exploit it far behind them. The alien commanders conferred in hushed tones, their insectoid features unreadable. Humanity had proven itself unpredictable and dangerous. Empire would not forget this insult, nor would it forgive. The stage was set for a final confrontation. And when it came, nothing would ever be the same again. The Aegis Dawn raced through the void, its engines roaring as it pushed to maximum speed. Behind them, the Varnock fleet pursued relentlessly, their massive ships cutting through space like predators chasing prey. The humans had barely escaped, with their lives and the precious data from the alien sphere, but they knew the reprieve wouldn't last long. The Varnock were angry now, and anger made them reckless. That recklessness could be their undoing or humanity's. On the bridge, Captain Ryan Mitchell stood tall, his sharp eyes scanning the displays around him. The crew worked tirelessly, their movements precise and efficient despite the chaos of the chase. Plasma bolts streaked past the ship, narrowly missing its hull as Athena executed evasive maneuvers that would have torn apart any lesser vessel. The AI's calm voice echoed over the comms, relaying updates on shield strength, engine performance, and enemy positions. Shields down to 20%. Tactical Officer Samantha Hayes reported grimly. We can't keep this up much longer. We don't need to, Ryan replied. His tone was steady, though his mind raced with calculations. Emma, how's the analysis coming? Lieutenant Emma Carter sat at her station, her fingers flying over the controls as she sifted through the flood of information extracted from the alien sphere. Her curly brown hair was tied back in a messy ponytail, strands falling loose as she leaned closer to the screen. The data was overwhelming: maps, schematics, codes, but she was piecing it together bit by bit. I've isolated a weakness in their flagship's shield grid, she said finally, her voice tinged with both excitement and exhaustion. If we target these specific points, she highlighted 3 key areas on the holographic display, we can create a cascade failure. It'll take out their primary defenses for about 30 seconds. Ryan nodded sharply. 30 seconds. Wasn't much, but it might be enough. Sam, prepare the plasma cannons. We'll hit them hard and fast when the time comes. Yes, sir, Sam answered, already inputting the coordinates into the targeting system. She glanced at Ryan. What about the rest of the fleet? They'll swarm us if we focus all our firepower on the flagship. Athena, Ryan said, addressing the ship's AI. Can you simulate a diversion using the decoy drones? Affirmative. Captain Athena replied. Deploying drones will draw approximately 60% of the enemy fleet away from the flagship for a window of 2 minutes. That should do it, Ryan said. He turned to Chief Engineer Daniel Brooks, who was monitoring the engine systems. Daniel, I need every ounce of power diverted to weapons and shields. Can you make it happen? Daniel wiped sweat from his brow, his thick beard flecked with grease. I'll fry the engines if I push them too hard, but yeah, I can do it. Just don't ask me to keep him running after this is over. Understood, Ryan said. Everyone, brace yourselves. It's going to get rough. As the Aegis Dawn adjusted its course, Athena launched a swarm of decoy drones into space. The tiny, unmanned vessels emitted false heat signatures and sensor readings, mimicking the presence of multiple human ships. The ruse worked. The Varnock fleet split, sending a large portion of their forces after the drones. For the first time since the battle began, the odds tilted slightly in humanity's favor. Enemy fleet dispersal confirmed, Sam announced. 40% remain near the flagship. Shields are still active. Hold position, Ryan ordered. Wait for Emma's signal. Emma continued working feverishly, her heart pounding as she finalized the targeting sequence. The alien sphere's data was complex, almost labyrinthine, but she had cracked the code. Now, it was just a matter of executing the plan perfectly. Ready? she said, her voice firm despite the tension in her chest. Fire when you're within range. Ryan clenched his fists, watching the view screen as the Aegis Dawn closed in on the Varnock flagship. The colossal alien vessel loomed ahead, its surface bristling with weapons, turrets, and glowing conduits. It looked invincible, but Emma's discovery proved otherwise. Locking targets. Sam said, her hand steady on the controls. Plasma. Cannons primed. Now, Ryan barked. With a deafening roar, the Aegis Dawn unleashed its payload. 3 concentrated beams of plasma shot through space, striking the designated weak points on the flagship's shield grid. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a blinding flash, the shields collapsed, leaving the alien behemoth exposed. Direct hit, Sam shouted. Their shields are down. Take out their weapon systems, Ryan commanded. We need to cripple them before they recover. The crew sprang into action, launching another barrage of missiles and energy blasts. Explosions erupted across the flagship's hull, tearing through armor plating and disabling critical systems. Smoke billowed from ruptured compartments, and the once imposing vessel listed heavily to one side. But the Varnock weren't defeated. Yet, secondary shields flickered online, restoring partial protection to the flagship. Worse, the remaining ships in the fleet began regrouping, realizing the drones were a trick. Within moments, the Aegis Dawn found itself surrounded again, caught in a tightening noose of enemy fire. Shields failing, Sam warned. 10% and dropping. Divert auxiliary power to the forward deflectors, Ryan ordered. Buy us some time. Daniel scrambled to reroute energy, muttering curses under his breath as he pushed the ship's systems beyond their limits. Sparks flew from overloaded circuits, and warning alarms blared throughout the vessel. The crew held on tight as the ship shuddered violently under the relentless assault. Emma stared at her console, her mind racing. There had to be something else they could use against the Varnaxum, hidden advantage buried in the alien data. Then she saw it, a subroutine embedded deep within the sphere's programming. It wasn't just a map or a set of coordinates, it was a virus. Captain, she called out urgently. I think I can upload a program into their mainframe. It works. It'll disable their entire fleet, not just the flagship. Ryan turned to her, his expression unreadable. Long will it take? 30 seconds to initiate the transfer, Emma replied. But I'll need direct access to their network. That means getting close enough to establish a link. Ryan hesitated. Getting close to the flagship meant risking everything. Wrong move, and the Aegis Dawn would be obliterated. But without taking the risk, they had no chance of survival. Do it, he said finally. Athena, plot an approach vector. Get us within range. Approaching optimal distance, Athena. Confirmed. Warning, structural integrity at critical levels. The Aegis Dawn surged forward, dodging incoming fire as it maneuvered toward the crippled flagship. The Varnock ships converged, pouring everything they had into stopping the human vessel. Panels sparked and shattered across the bridge, and several crew members were thrown from their stations. Still, they pressed on. Initiating upload, Emma said, her fingers trembling as she activated the program. A progress bar appeared on her screen, inching slowly toward completion. 20 seconds. 15. Hold them off. Ryan yelled, gripping the railing as another blast rocked the ship. We're not done yet. Sam coordinated the defensive fire, targeting any Varnock vessel that came too close. Missiles streaked through space, detonating in brilliant bursts of light. The flagship loomed larger with each passing second, its damaged hull groaning under the strain of repeated attacks. 10 seconds. Emma shouted, almost there. Varnock commander, realizing what was happening, sent a desperate transmission. Cease your actions immediately or face annihilation. Ryan ignored him, his gaze fixed on Emma's screen. Keep going. He urged, don't stop. The countdown reached 0. With a final keystroke, Emma completed the upload. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the flagship systems began to fail. Lights dimmed, weapons powered down, and the massive vessel drifted helplessly in space. It worked, Emma whispered, her voice filled with disbelief. Their network is collapsing. The effect rippled outward, spreading to the rest of the fleet. One by one, the Varnock ships shut down, their advanced technology rendered useless by the alien virus. The once mighty armada was reduced to a collection of lifeless hulks, adrift in the void. On the bridge of the Aegis Dawn, the crew erupted into cheers. Exhaustion gave way to elation as they realized they had won a victory against impossible odds. Ryan allowed himself a small smile, though his thoughts were already turning to what came next. "Good work, everyone," he said, his voice soft but firm. "But we're not finished yet. Secure the area and assess damage. We need to be ready for whatever happens next." As the adrenaline faded, reality set in. The Aegis Dawn was battered and bruised, its systems pushed to the brink of failure. Repairs would take time, and the Varnock Empire wouldn't stay quiet for long. This victory was only the beginning of a much larger fight. Far away, aboard one of the surviving Varnock vessels, the commander stared at the ruins of his fleet. His mandibles clicked furiously, his compound eyes burning with rage. Humanity had proven itself a formidable foe, but the Empire was vast, its resources nearly limitless. This defeat was a setback, nothing more. They think they've won, he growled to his subordinates. But they've only delayed the inevitable. Prepare a report for the Emperor. Tell him Earth must be destroyed at any cost. The message was sent, disappearing into the depths of space. The war was far from over, and while the Aegis Dawn had struck a decisive blow, the true battle was only beginning. The Aegis Dawn drifted silently in the aftermath of the battle, its battered frame a testament to the ferocity of the fight. The once mighty Varnock fleet was now a graveyard of disabled ships, their sleek hulls dark and lifeless. For the first time since the conflict began, there was quiet, no blaring alarms, no streaks of plasma cutting through space, no desperate voices shouting orders over comms. Just silence. On the bridge, Captain Ryan Mitchell stood still, his hands resting on the railing as he gazed out at the wreckage. His sharp eyes scanned the scene, taking in every detail. The victory had been hard fought, but it came at a cost. Panels across the ship were scorched, wires hung loose from shattered consoles, and the air smelled faintly of burnt metal. The crew members moved slowly, tending to repairs or slumped in exhaustion against bulkheads. They had survived, but they weren't out of danger yet. "Damage report," Ryan said finally, breaking the heavy silence. Chief Engineer Daniel Brooks wiped sweat from his forehead, his thick beard streaked with soot. "Engines are holding together for now, but we're running on fumes. Shields are offline, and half our weapon systems are fried. We can limp back to Earth, but not without risking more trouble along the way." Ryan nodded grimly, turned to Lieutenant Emma Carter, who sat slumped at her station, her curly brown hair falling loose around her shoulders. Despite her fatigue, she was already poring over new data streaming in from the disabled Varnock vessels. "What about their systems? Any sign of reactivation?" Emma shook her head. "Not yet. The virus is still spreading through their network. It'll take them days, maybe weeks to recover, if they even can, but that doesn't mean they won't try something else soon." Tactical Officer Samantha Hayes stepped forward, her green eyes sharp despite her weariness. "We should assume reinforcements are already on the way. This wasn't their entire fleet." If word gets back to the Empire, she didn't need to finish. Everyone knew what would happen next. The Varnock Empire spanned countless star systems, its resources vast and its military unmatched. A single battle wouldn't stop them, not for long. Ryan clenched his jaw, thinking quickly. "Athena, how long until we reach Earth?" "Estimated travel time is 72 hours at current speed," the AI replied. "However, structural integrity remains compromised. Sustained flight may cause further damage." 72 hours. Ryan muttered under his breath. That was too long. If another Varnock fleet arrived before they could return home, humanity would be defenseless. An sanctuary base hidden beneath the Pacific Ocean wasn't equipped to handle an attack of this scale. "We need a backup plan," Ryan said aloud. "Sam, plot alternate routes. Look for any safe zones where we can hide and make repairs. Emma, keep monitoring the Varnock systems. I want to know the moment they start moving again. Yes, sir. Both women replied in unison. As the crew worked, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. The alien sphere's data had saved them, but she couldn't help wondering why it existed in the first place. Who or what had created it? Was it meant for humans to find? Or had it simply been left behind by some ancient civilization? The questions gnawed at her, distracting her from the task at hand. Her thoughts were interrupted by a sudden alert flashing on her screen. Frowning, she leaned closer to examine the signal. It was weak, almost drowned out by static, but unmistakable. "Captain," she called out urgently, "I'm picking up another transmission." Ryan turned to face her, his expression tense. "From where?" "It's coming from one of the Varnock ships. The flagship." Emma hesitated, her voice dropping slightly. "It's different. It's not like their usual comes. It's more fragmented. Almost like a distress call." "A distress call," Ryan repeated, raising an eyebrow. "From the enemy," Emma nodded. "It's faint, but it's definitely there. Whoever sent it isn't using standard Varnock protocols. It's almost like someone aboard that ship wants to talk to us." Ryan exchanged a glance with Sam, who shrugged. "Could be a trap," she said cautiously. "Or it could be legitimate. Either way, we need to investigate." Ryan nodded. "All right, prepare a shuttle. We'll send a team to check it out." Minutes later, a small shuttle detached from the Aegis Dawn, carrying a 4-person team led by Sam. Alongside her were Private Alex Rivera, Corporal Lisa Nguyen, and Ensign Jake Miller, the same group that had infiltrated the flagship earlier. Each member carried weapons and scanning equipment, ready for anything. As the shuttle approached the damaged vessel, the sheer size of the alien ship became even more apparent. Its metallic surface was scarred from the battle with gaping holes, revealing twisted conduits and sparking circuits. The boarding team donned their helmets and activated magnetic boots, stepping onto the hull with caution. "This place gives me the creeps," Lisa murmured over the comms, her voice barely audible. "Stay focused," Sam reminded her. "Let's find the source of that signal and get out of here." Using Emma's scans as a guide, the team made their way toward the origin of the transmission. Inside the ship, the corridors were eerily silent, the hum of machinery replaced by an oppressive stillness. Strange symbols glowed faintly on the walls, casting an otherworldly light over the passageways. Finally, they reached a sealed door marked with unfamiliar markings. Jake examined the control panel, interfacing his handheld device with the alien system. After several tense moments, the door slid open with a soft hiss. Inside was a chamber filled with glowing crystals, similar to those they'd seen during their previous mission. In the center of the room stood a lone figure of Varnock, but unlike any they'd encountered before. Instead of the insectoid features typical of the species, this individual appeared frail, almost humanoid. With softer mandibles and larger, more expressive eyes, the creature raised its hands in a gesture of surrender, speaking in halting, accented English. "Please do not harm me. I am not your enemy." Sam tightened her grip on her rifle, her instincts screaming at her to stay alert. "Who are you?" she demanded. "I am a dissenter," the Varnock replied. "My people call me Kale. Have opposed the Empire's ways for many cycles. When I learned of their plans to invade your world, I tried to stop them, but I failed." Alex stepped forward, his weapon trained on the alien. "Why should we believe you?" "You're one of them." Kale lowered his gaze, his voice trembling. "'Cause I gave you this sphere. I planted it aboard the flagship, hoping you would find it. Without it, you would never have defeated my kin." The team exchanged uneasy glances. Could this alien truly be telling the truth? Or was this just another ploy to gain their trust? Jake studied the creature closely, his tech-savvy mind racing. If he's lying, his biosigns will show it. "Let me run a scan." He activated a portable scanner, waving it over Kale. The readings confirmed the alien's stress levels were high. But there were no signs of deception, at least. None that human technology could detect. "What do you want from us?" Sam asked. Sharply, Kale looked up, his large eyes filled with desperation. "Your survival means everything. My people have grown corrupt, consumed by greed and conquest. Your resistance proves that unity among species is possible. Together, you could overthrow the Empire. Ryan's voice crackled over the comms. Sam, bring him aboard. We'll decide what to do with him later. Back on the Aegis Dawn, Kale was brought to the bridge, where Ryan questioned him further. The alien explained that the Varnak Empire was built on fear and oppression, crushing weaker civilizations to maintain control. Dissenters like Kale were hunted down and silenced, their voices drowned out by propaganda and violence. You must understand, Kale pleaded. This war cannot end with destruction alone. If you wish to defeat the Empire, you must unite others under your banner. There are countless worlds suffering under Varnak rule. Rally them to your cause, and together, you can bring about change. Listened intently, his mind weighing the possibilities. Kale's words resonated deeply, reminding him of the fragile hope that had driven humanity to fight in the first place. But trusting an alien Evan One claiming to oppose the Empire was a risk he wasn't sure they could afford for now. Kale offered valuable intelligence, sharing details about the Empire's inner workings and potential allies among oppressed species. With this information, humanity might stand a chance against the inevitable counterattack, as the Aegis Dawn resumed its journey toward Earth. Ryan stared out at the stars, his thoughts heavy with responsibility. They had struck a blow against tyranny, but the road ahead was fraught with challenges. Unity, Kale had said. If humanity hoped to survive, they would need more than courage. They would need allies, and perhaps, just perhaps, the seeds of rebellion had already been sown far beyond Earth's borders. The journey back to Earth was tense but quieter than anyone expected. The Aegis Dawn limped through space, its battered frame groaning under the strain of sustained flight. Repairs were ongoing, with Chief Engineer Daniel Brooks and his team working around the clock to keep the ship from falling apart entirely. Despite the damage, the crew remained focused, their spirits buoyed by the knowledge that they had struck a decisive blow against the Varnak Empire. Captain Ryan Mitchell spent much of his time in deep thought, pacing the bridge as he considered the implications of Kale's words. The alien dissenter had offered humanity more than just intelligence. He had presented a vision, a way forward in a galaxy dominated by tyranny. If Ryan could rally other oppressed species to join forces with Earth, they might stand a chance. Against the Empire, uniting disparate civilizations would be no small feat. Trust would need to be earned, alliances forged, and sacrifices made. Kale himself remained aboard the Aegis Dawn, confined to a secure section of the ship while Emma Carter monitored his communications closely. She didn't fully trust him, not yet, but she couldn't deny the value of the information he provided. Through long conversations, she learned about the Empire's weaknesses, its internal divisions, and the countless worlds yearning for freedom. Each revelation painted a clearer picture of the monumental task ahead as the Aegis Dawn approached Earth. The crew prepared for what came next. Lieutenant Emma Carter worked tirelessly to decode additional data recovered from the Varnak flagship, hoping to uncover more vulnerabilities or potential allies. Tactical officer Samantha Hayes coordinated defensive strategies, ensuring the ship was ready for any surprises upon arrival. Meanwhile, Ryan drafted messages to world leaders explaining the situation and urging unity. Humanity had faced threats before, but nothing like this. The stakes were higher than ever. Every decision mattered. When the Aegis Dawn finally descended into Earth's atmosphere, it did so under the cover of darkness, emerging from the depths of the Pacific Ocean near Sanctuary Base. News of their victory spread quickly, though. Details were kept classified to prevent panic. Governments convened emergency meetings, military forces mobilized, and scientists scrambled to adapt alien technology for broader use. The world watched and waited, holding its collective breath. Ryan stood on the deck of the underwater facility, gazing up at the surface far above. He felt the weight of leadership pressing down on him, not just as captain of the Aegis Dawn, but as a symbol of hope for all of humanity. This is only the beginning, he muttered to himself. His voice barely audible over the hum of machinery. Emma joined him moments later, her expression pensive. "Do you think we can really pull this off?" she asked softly. "Unite other species, I mean?" Ryan turned to face her, his sharp eyes meeting hers. We have to try. If we don't, the Varnock will come back stronger next time, and we won't get another chance. Emma nodded slowly, though doubt lingered in her mind. She glanced toward the room where Cale was being held. Do you trust him? I don't know, Ryan admitted. But right now, he's all we've got. We'll take the risks we have to. In the days that followed, humanity began preparing for war. Factories churned out weapons and equipment. Based on designs reverse-engineered from the Aegis Dawn, scientists collaborated with Cale to understand alien tech, adapting it for human use. Diplomatic efforts reached out to rebel factions within the Varnock Empire. Offering support and resources in exchange for cooperation, Ko proved invaluable during these negotiations, acting as both mediator and translator. His presence helped ease suspicions among some groups, though others remained wary. Still, progress was made. Slowly but surely, an alliance began to form, a fragile coalition of humans and aliens, united by a shared desire for freedom. Meanwhile, the Aegis Dawn underwent extensive repairs and upgrades. Its cloaking device was enhanced, its weapon systems refitted, and its engines reinforced. By the time work was complete, the ship was more powerful than ever, true marvel of hybrid technology. Daniel Brooks emerged from the engine room one evening, his beard freshly trimmed and a rare smile on his face. She's ready, Captain, he said proudly. Better than new. Ryan clapped him on the shoulder. Good work, Chief. Now, let's make sure she stays that way. The final piece of the puzzle fell into place when Cale revealed the location of a secret Varnock supply hub deep in uncharted space. It served as a staging ground for invasions, stocked with weapons, ships, and resources. Destroying it would cripple the Empire's ability to launch large-scale attacks and send a message to the galaxy that resistance was possible. Ryan gathered his senior officers in the briefing room, laying out the plan. We hit the supply hub hard and fast, he explained, pointing to a holographic map. Take out their stockpiles, disrupt their operations, and broadcast the attack across the Empire's communication networks. Let them know we're coming and we're not backing down. Sam nodded approvingly. It's risky, but it'll work. With the intel Cale gave us, we can slip past their defenses and strike without warning, Emma added. And once the message gets out, it'll inspire others to rise up. That's how we start building momentum. Ryan looked around the table, meeting each person's gaze. This isn't just about winning a battle. It's about starting a movement. Are you with me? One by one, the crew voiced their agreement. They knew the dangers, but they also knew the stakes. This wasn't just about survival. It was about creating a future where humanity could thrive. The assault on the supply hub was swift and devastating. Using the Aegis Dawn's upgraded cloaking device, the humans slipped past the outer perimeter, undetected. Once inside, they unleashed a barrage of plasma cannons and missiles, targeting key facilities and destroying entire warehouses filled with weapons and ships. Explosions lit up the void, sending shockwaves rippling through space as the attack unfolded. Emma transmitted a pre-recorded message across the Empire's communication channels. The video showed scenes of the battle interspersed with images of Earth and the growing coalition of rebel species. Ryan's voice echoed over the footage, firm and resolute. To the people of the galaxy, we are not your enemies. The Varnock Empire thrives on fear and oppression, but together we can end their reign. Join us. Stand with us. Fight for freedom for all of us. The message spread like wildfire, reaching planets and colonies across the stars. Some dismissed it as propaganda, while others saw it as a call to action. Rebel cells sprang up overnight, launching strikes against Imperial outposts and rallying civilians to their cause. For the first time in centuries, the Empire found itself on the defensive, back on Earth. News of the attack sparked celebrations and renewed determination. World leaders announced plans to expand the space program, pledging resources and personnel to build a fleet capable of defending the planet. Scientists worked day and night to replicate the Aegis Dawn's technology, knowing that humanity's survival depended on innovation and ingenuity. Ryan returned to the bridge of the Aegis Dawn, standing tall as he addressed the crew. "We've taken the first step," he said, his voice steady and strong. "The fight isn't over. There'll be more battles, more sacrifices. But if we hold fast to our principles, if we stand united, then we can win. It's not just for ourselves, but for everyone who dreams of a better future." The crew erupted into applause, their faces filled with pride and resolve. They had faced impossible odds and emerged victorious not because they were stronger or smarter, but because they refused to give up far away, aboard a surviving Varnock vessel. The commander stared at the ruins of the supply hub, his mandibles clicking furiously. The Emperor's orders were clear: crush the rebellion at all costs. But even he couldn't deny the truth: the tide was turning for the first time. In millennia, the Empire faltered. And amidst the chaos, a new era dawned, an era of hope, courage, and unity.